Good evening. We'll call to order the Board of Works meeting for Monday, April the 25th, 6:15. And our first order will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call roll?
Sure. Mayor Gentry,
Absent.
Becky McClure,
Present.
Bill Stoner,
Present.
Dick Robertson,
Present.
Alan Milburn.
Present.
Thank you.
Next item will be approval of the minutes. Has everybody had the chance to review the minutes? Is there any changes that need to be addressed? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
First by Alan, second by Becky. Now we'll proceed to the department head reports.
Better vote on it.
Oh, yeah. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same side. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Now we'll move to department reports. First up will be the police department. Chief Morgan.
Good evening, board members. Since our last meeting, the Lebanon Police Department has responded to 548 calls for service. A total of 38 people were arrested for the following crimes: 4 for operating while intoxicated, 6 were wanted on a warrant, 5 for possession of meth, 1 for possession of a narcotic, 1 for invasion of privacy, 3 for driving while suspended, 1 was a habitual traffic violator, 1 for battery, 4 for domestic battery, 1 for public intoxication, and 1 for theft. In that same time frame, LPD took 28 crash reports, and 10 handgun carry licenses were sent off to the state for final approval. To the training side, Officer Eric Taylor completed the gun sight 3-day pistol course held at our range. This course focuses on the combat triad, marksmanship, gun handling, and mindset. Detective Eric Adams attended the 35th Annual Indiana Drug Enforcement Association Conference in Indianapolis. Some of the topics covered include technology threats, trends against law enforcement, and dark web investigations. Lastly, LPD hosted the 2-day Moving Targets for Snipers class. This was put on by the ISOA, which is the Indiana SWAT Officers Association. Moving paper plate sized targets going at a jogging pace were shot at ranges from 50 to 200 yards. That's all I have.
Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next up will be Fire Department, Chief Batts.
Good evening, everyone. Since the last Board of Public Works and Safety meeting, Lebanon Fire has made 117 emergency calls of service, logged 192 training hours, performed 6 commercial pre-plans, and completed 32 commercial inspections. And we hosted 1 public education event. This week is FDIC week. That's the Fire Department Instructors Conference. This is hosted by the City of Indianapolis. This is one of the largest conferences. It is the largest conference in the United States. Firefighters from all over the U.S. will be attending trainings in Indianapolis, and the Boone County Training Tower is hosting several HOT classes, and that stands for hands-on training. So Lebanon Fire, Whitestown Fire, and Zionsville Fire are all helping, assisting with logistics, the live burns, and everything that it takes to run a HOT class at the Boone County Training Tower. It's been a great day so far. It was a little rainy this morning, but we were able to get everything done, and then we have a full day tomorrow of HOT classes as well. Then classes start in downtown Indianapolis, and we'll have several firefighters attending those conferences and going through classes. Over the next 2 days, we'll have roughly between 150 and 200 firefighters visit the city of Lebanon. On April 14th, LFD organized and participated in an emergency evacuation drill at Crown Point Assisted Living. The drill was a simulated lightning strike and a working fire. So we help Crown Point out 2 times a year with the complete evacuation of their building. And it's a pretty big undertaking, so we incorporate a fire element in it, not being able to use elevators, having limited personnel on staff there, and it was a very successful event for them and helps them with their safety rating within their building. On April 19th, 20th, and 21st, crews participated in low-angle rescue training. The training focused on debris removal, rigging, and patient packaging. We'd like to thank the Shepherd family for the use of their property. And that's all I have this evening.
Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Next up is Parks Department, John Messenger.
Good evening. The playground installers will be out mid to end of next week after completion of the installation that they're working on currently. The no-falls surface will be installed after that, as well as concrete and fencing. And we're still shooting for Memorial Day, but I sure think that's going to be delayed a couple weeks. This weather's put everybody behind. But we hope it'll be in before Memorial Day. The 20-foot pole, concrete prefabricated bases have come in. They were delivered last week and they're being installed now. That's on our lighting project at Memorial Park. The job is running ahead of schedule, and we're hoping to be done by the end of June. I think getting a lot of good feedback on that, and they look very well. We're still working on the 5-year master plan and a potential pool expansion, working on those two. The Memorial Park pickleball courts are being repaired, but the project has been delayed again due to weather. Actually, that little freeze we had kind of ruined all the work, so they had to go back and they're redoing it. But hopefully they'll have that completed. It looks like this week is going to be very nice for everybody. Our 2022 Easter egg hunt went very well. We had over 400 people in attendance and great weather. I'd like to give a special thanks to Freedom Church. They did the picture booth. Purity Wholesale Grocers, and that's Jack Carroll out there. They always help out financially and brought the big candy bars for all the little kiddos. Walmart, they helped out. Titus Donuts. Lebanon 7 Movie Theater and Mrs. Patty Bohannon's class. She's been stuffing Easter eggs for quite some time, her class. Prior to this, and they had over 6,000 or a zillion, whichever you want to pick, eggs to stuff. She always does a nice job. Without those people and organizations, we wouldn't be able to have the nice Easter egg hunt that we do. Look forward to seeing everybody next year. We have a staff meeting after every event that we have. Something that came out of it this year, we'll probably look at a special needs challenged children anyway, have an Easter egg hunt for them, maybe on the tennis courts or something. It's pretty rough out there with the grass, so I thought that was a pretty good takeaway. We're trying to get more inclusive and everything, so we're looking into that. We will have some event for the other children that can't participate in the one that we have, but looking forward to that.
The weather was good, right?
Excuse me?
The weather was good?
Oh, it's great. It's a beautiful day. We're really blessed. We've done it in snow and ice and rain, and yeah, we were blessed.
Good.
There were a lot of people out there. Lebanon High School will be hosting a tailgate for the high school baseball team this Friday, April 29th at Memorial Park. I think everybody's welcome. We're having a good season, and it should be beautiful weather Friday, so looking forward to that. Our Princess Party will be held this Sunday, May 1st, from 1 to 4. Cost is $5 per child to enter. It is at the Her Cabin, where kiddos can visit with the 2 princesses. I won't tip it off, but Frozen comes to mind, just saying, if anybody knows that. Elsa, anyway, and another. Complete a craft, enjoy cookies and punch, and more. No pre-registration is required. The Megan Hammerly 5K will take place on Saturday, May 7th at Memorial Park. That's the day before Mother's Day, everyone out there. Just for everybody to know. 2022 summer swim lessons will be open for registration on May 2nd. Parents can register online by calling our office. June dates are June 13th through the 24th, and July dates are July 11th through the 22nd. Cost is $50 per child for all 10 days of lessons. I would call as soon as you can. Those tend to fill up, and we only have limited limited space, unfortunately. We're now taking registrations for adult co-ed softball league. Cost is $300 per team, and registration is open until June 1st. Visit our website or contact us for more information. And we're currently running our lap swim program at Lebanon High School. We provide a lifeguard on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5:30 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. at the high school, and the cost is $5. Just stop in the office for more information. I did want to say, want to thank the utilities. Tony Green, he came out. We have phosphorus issues from time to time throughout the year. IDEM's kind of stepped up how they look at that, and he's very knowledgeable, came out and helped us with it. We're looking at the pool season. We've never had any encounters, but just his knowledge, we're really blessed to have some of the utilities help we have. We also had quite a few of them from the electric department, meter department. They're just very helpful, and I really appreciate the teamwork that we have with them, and I had to give a shout out to them. That's all I had to say.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a comment. John, in light of all the good things that goes on in this community, they don't always get a lot of coverage as far as media. The front page picture of the Easter hunt was really a positive, uplifting thing to see all those kids out there, and so I think that's something we should be proud of. But it was obviously successful. But it was good to see the coverage. And
No, I agree. This year is probably one of the biggest ones I've seen in my 15 years. So
yeah, good job.
Same thing, the cabin. I think the reporter does a nice job of getting out there and giving us some good press, and we appreciate that. But it's getting bigger every year, so we'll keep expanding and always takeaways. But I think also introducing other ideas for our Easter egg hunt, I think that was good. But thank you for the compliments, and our programs are really good. We have a good team there at the park too to pull it all off.
Any other comments? Any comments from the public? Thank you, John. Next up is Engineering Department, Kevin.
Thank you and good evening. Updates on a few projects around town. I guess first of all, it's not really on my update, but some have brought to my attention last week that we're seeing some movement of some of the pavers on Meridian Street. Just before you get calls or people call our office, we are aware of that. We're meeting with the contractors that installed them later in the week to investigate that, figure out how we fix that. But just if you notice that, it's in a small section, sort of the south half of the southbound lanes on the Meridian Street side. We're seeing a little bit of movement there. I'm not for sure what would have caused that, but I just want to let everyone know that we are aware of the problem. We are working with our designers, our inspectors, and our contractors to make sure that is repaired in a timely manner, and hopefully make sure it doesn't happen again. So obviously we went through a couple of winters with those pavers down, didn't see any problems, but for some reason something happened and materialized really last week was when it was first noticed. I want to thank Mr. Messenger for also bringing it to my attention. He was the first person to spot it, and we were out there over the weekend beginning to look at it, and again, we're working on a game plan. So just to let everyone know, that is on our radar, and we are working to take care of that.
I did notice that last week, too. Yep.
Yeah, you might have noticed it kind of looked like the street was dirty last week.
It did, yeah.
And my initial thought was somebody came through and some mud fell off their vehicle, and then when John called it to my attention and closer inspections, surely enough, the pavers were sliding a little bit in that area. And the mud you see is the aggregate that's between the pavers that
underneath
is washing up out of that area. So we're working on that, and we'll stay on top of it and keep you posted. On other project notes, pavement resurfacing programs for the year, all of our ramps are complete, and we're moving into asphalt resurfacing. The plants are now back open. We should be starting the next couple of days the milling and resurfacing. We're going to start up in the Tradewind subdivision. That's Finch Boulevard, Finch Court, Acton Road, Snyder Lane. That's our first phase, and then we move over to the Chadwick neighborhood, where we're working on Grant Boulevard, Dale Court, Travis Drive. And then the last phase, we moved down to Ransdell Road, then to Indianapolis Avenue and Perryworth Road on the south end of town. So just keep an eye out for those crews working. We will maintain traffic and maintain the roads open at all times, but there will be flaggers in those areas. So I always would encourage anyone, if they can avoid those areas where we're doing the work, that would be best. But we'll start with milling those areas off. Then we'll inspect and repair make any deep patches in those streets, and then come back with resurfacing approximately a week after they're milled off. And we'll get everything cleaned up here in the next couple of weeks and close out that project. Other projects, Witt Road. The bridge on Witt Road, just remind everyone, construction is scheduled to start on June 15th. The road will be closed from June 15th to July 28th. On the road project on either side of that bridge from Lafayette Avenue north to just north of Austin Drive, we do have federal funds on that to be used in 2027. We would not get to bidding of that till July 8th. Right now, we're sort of in the very preliminary phases with NDOT on that project. We'll be making our DBE goal requests, setting up RFPs for engineering services, and then we'll get through into the public process of letting people know and letting people involved in the decisions as we move that forward. A reminder, everyone, that road project is about a $5.9 million budget. We received a grant that will total about $3.7 million, and the city would be responsible for our local commitment of $2.2. But again, not for construction until 2026 and 27. Elmwood Bridge, happy to report last week we got notice that we've received community crossing funding for that project. That bridge replacement project has a budget currently of $630,600, and we received $315,300 as a 50% match on that. We'll ask you later tonight for authorization to issue bidding documents, and hopefully we'll be opening bids in the month of May, the second meeting in May, and moving that project forward. That project doesn't have the same traffic implications as Witt Road, so we think we will possibly even do that reconstruction, close the road, do the reconstruction this fall, but that remains to be seen. We'll see how the bids come in before we make those decisions. Grant Street, our NDOT letting is set for next Thursday. That's on phase 1 from and including Washington Street north to the south edge of Fordyce. The project will be built in 2 phases. One is the Williams Street stub off to the west of that from Grant Street to the bridge. That would be no longer than a closure during the summer session when school is out, and then that would have to be back open to traffic. And then phase 2 would be moving on to the mainline grant reconstruction, which would be done in 2023. But again, letting is scheduled for next week. The current budget on the project is about $4.4 million. After you subtract out the federal funds and some help from our friends at Lebanon Utilities, the local requirement there is about $1.2 million. Once the bids are opened, once the letting has occurred, don't ask me why they call it letting instead of bidding, that's just what they do. But we would be issued an invoice for that $1.2 million roughly, and we'll have to cut that check immediately, but those funds have already been allocated for the year. Grant Street Phase 2 also awarded funds through the 2027 call, although they set our letting date a year earlier to make it for 2026 construction. And that is from Indianapolis Avenue, including some intersection realignments north to the south end of Washington Street. It's about a $4.3 million project. $3.2 million is coming from the feds, $1.1 million local match. Again, not set for construction until 2026. Fordyce Street, just around the corner there, also working on that. We're heavily into the right-of-way acquisition phase. Keep in mind we're looking at a 2024-2025 construction window on that project. Big Four Trail, we've been fighting the weather on the Big Four Trail construction. Really, we're struggling to get compaction of the subgrade. That continues to delay the process, but it's hard to get that soil compaction and to dry the soil out when it keeps raining every couple of days. This week actually looks to be good, so we're hoping the rain pushes off today and tomorrow, and then we can hopefully get some sunshine and dry that subgrade out. Bike park construction documents are being finalized as we speak. Our geology closure has been approved, and that included our groundwater monitoring system, and that groundwater monitoring system is now under contract and scheduled to be installed next week. On active living programs, Northfield sidewalk projects, drive approaches, driveways, sidewalks, all the concrete flat work is scheduled to wrap up by next week. Weather permitting, of course, but like I said, it looks like the latter half of this week we have a good window, and then that will be followed by backfilling, grading, and seeding. Again, weather permitting, that will move forward immediately after the sidewalks are all poured. Also, on the active living front, want to bring up an important event. We want to ask everyone to come out and share their input, their ideas on the City of Lebanon's bicycle and pedestrian master plan update open house. So you can find out more about the steps we're taking to make life easier and safer for bicyclists and pedestrians and make the community just more connected. The event is being held at Clues Brews on Monday, May 9th. That's the evening they're normally closed, but they will be opening for this special event from 6:30 to 8:30. The open house is free and open to the public. We want everyone to come out and attend, and no better way to get people there than to offer some free light appetizers. So come out and talk about bicycles and trails and all the pedestrian improvements that we'd like to see. We look forward to hearing from you. Regional detention updates. Just one quick update. We've gotten some comments back from Ken's Foods on the land acquisition efforts there. We've passed those on to our attorney, and we'll be continuing to move that forward. Christopher Burke is also now working on the design, permitting, and construction of the culvert replacement under the railroad corridor that will create a positive, or eliminate, some upstream restrictions that are affecting the Fieldhouse project and other adjacent projects that we're working on. On the MS4 side of things, since the last meeting, we had 22 SWIP inspections, 3 complaint inspections, and 10 right-of-way permits issued and inspected. And happy to just see construction getting started, even though it's been a slow start with the weather, but lots going on the infrastructure side of things around the city. That's all I have.
Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Thank you, Kevin. Next up, Planning Department, Ben.
Good evening, board members. As you can imagine, with the weather warming up, the construction activity is also picking up. Last couple of weeks, we completed 61 building inspections and issued 45 building permits, and that did include 7 new single-family homes and 1 new commercial permit for Casey's General Store out in Lebanon Gateway Marketplace. So happy to see that activity pick up, and we expect to see that to continue as we move into the warmer months. On the code enforcement side, again, continue to do a lot of activity there, following up. I know we've had some cases going to court on our unsafe building hearings, so we're starting to get those through the process and getting some judgments in our favor to get some things cleaned up and torn down. So happy to see that going forward. So we're seeing some activity related to that over the next few months, as well as some additional cases make their way through the court system. So a lot of good activity there, and of course, again, with the weather warming up, that means the grass is going to start growing a little bit more, so we expect to see activity picking up in some of those complaints as well. So continue to manage those and make sure we get those things addressed as they come up. That was a quick one, but that's all I have for this time.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Thank you, Ben. Next up is Street Department and Stormwater Department. David?
How's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, we've been pretty busy with the rain, trying to keep the drains cleared off. We probably filled up all of our pickups twice today, but we're keeping them off there so when it rains, the roads don't flood. Seems like we've been pretty busy cleaning up easements already this year. Just part of the process, I guess, but with all the wind, I'm sure doesn't help. Trying to wrap up the
the cold patching, now that the plants are starting to open up, we should be able to go back and do some more appropriate patching, more permanent with the hot mix. So we're excited about that. We should have some block patching coming up. I'm sure you might have seen Grant Street and some of these other ones that are alligating real bad on us. So we're going to have those block patched a little bit more in depth than what we can do to get a better base for them and stuff. If you do see any potholes, don't hesitate to call the office at 765-482-8870. The community's our eyes. They really help us out a lot because we can't be everywhere all the time. Just a reminder, spring cleanup will be this Friday, April 29th from 7 to 4. And then Saturday, 7 to noon only. I know everybody's used to 4, but the last one and this one is till noon only. So get in there, rain or shine. Won't be taking no electronics or televisions. Also no hazardous materials, no tires or oil-based paints or anything like that. They will accept water-based paint as long as it's been dried up. All you got to do with that is just take lids off, throw kitty litter or something in it, let it dry up, and they take it. We get a lot of asks about refrigerators and air conditioners, little units. We take those, no problem.
You got those dates and times again, David?
Yeah, it's the 29th and the 30th, this Friday and Saturday, 7 to 4 the 29th and 7 to noon Saturday the 30th.
Thank you.
Also, at the same time, the Boone County Solid Waste will be having their tox drop, they call it. That's Saturday, April 30th from 9 to 2. That's when you take all the chemicals, and I think they take tires, so many of those, and they do that at the Boone County Highway.
All right.
Just out by the fairgrounds. And if you need to ask them anything, their number is 765-483-0687. So if you got any questions, that's not really our event, but if you got any questions, don't hesitate to call them. We will be having the annual bike sale on Thursday, April 28th, so it's a pretty busy week for us. I think there's quite a bit of stuff, more than bikes this year. The police department's brought down a bunch of stuff, so Lana and, I can't remember the other lady's name, but they've been down there 2 days pricing stuff, so we're having a lot of stuff down there. So that will be from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So
What's that date again?
Thursday the 28th. It's a pretty big event, really, so if you want a bike or whatever, you better be there early.
And that's at the street department,
Yeah,
right?
that is at the street department. Well, as soon as we open the gate, it's like you're letting out a herd of people, and they just like a ball game or something. So it doesn't take long when stuff's going on. So, but it's good. I mean, you see families getting bikes and stuff, so at a reasonable price, Brush weeks for this season will be the second full week of the month from May through October. And the dates are as follows: May 9th through the 13th, June 13th through the 17th, July 11th through the 15th, August 15th through the 19th, and then you got September 12th through the 16th, and October 10th through the 14th. And those will change. The date won't ever change, but if there's a big storm that comes through, and it's middle of the month, or just the week after, that don't mean you won't get no brush picked up. We'll pick up like normal if we have a big storm and something like that happens. But other than that, just for every month, that'll be our route. And that's all I got.
Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Next up is Communication Community Development Department. Joe LePage? Not here?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to old business. First item we have is Kevin Kurlick on bid opening for solid waste and recycling collection and deposit disposal service.
Thank you. Let me, some computer connections here. There's, as you might imagine, there's a lot of data to share with you here, so we'll be trying to go through some information and some summaries so that you can be better informed to make a decision. There you go. Okay, just real quickly, so we received computer's flashing here. Hopefully that will straighten itself out in a second. That's
cable's bad. This one work?
You gotta do more.
Have to do wireless. Hey. All right. No, that's all right. I think it's... My apologies. 1 second here. Okay, well, this is connecting. So 3 bid packages were submitted, one from Ray's Trash Service, one from Republic Services, and one from Waste Management. All 3 were determined responsible and responsive. They all 3 attended our mandatory pre-bid conference, so they're all 3 eligible bidders, and obviously known entities in this world, and all 3 qualify to provide this service to the city. But there's a lot of things, nuance to trash and recycling and picking up that I want to walk through. First, as soon as we go live here, I want to show you where we're at today, where we are at in terms of what the city pays and what the city charges to our residents. Because I think that's part of this decision, understanding what will go into making the decision for this. Also have to report, there are 2 entities in the room here, Matt Godbout and Calvin Davidson with Rays are here, as well as Craig Lutz and Paul Gardner with Republic Services are also in the room. Here to obviously hear your decision, but also here if you have any questions. Sorry, I should have asked. Used to be able to just plug it in here. I actually intentionally brought this computer as opposed to my iPad because I thought it would be easy. You know why we're going through that? All right, let's talk about where we're at today, so that everyone understands. So currently, in our city, trash is mandatory, recycling is optional, as you're probably mostly aware. Currently, if you're a resident, you are paying $7.61 for monthly trash collection and removal. There we go, thank you. So that's what you can see up there on the board. So that's $7.61 is what you pay.
Kevin, just so you make it clear, because if anybody's listening, on their bill, they're going to see $7.21 for trash. They're going to see 40 cents for stormwater. And so those are separate, but you're putting them together for this.
I don't think it's 40 cents for stormwater.
$7.21 for trash, 40 cents for whatever the,
Okay.
solid waste.
Waste.
Solid waste. So I'm just saying they're billed separately on the bill, so they're not going to see
Correct.
761 without adding those
They're
together,
gonna see
that's all.
$721.40.
That's all.
So that totally gets you to 761
Yep, it does.
for all those associated services. And then if you opt into biweekly, so every 2 weeks, recycling pickup, that's an extra $2. So you're paying $9.61. How many people are paying this? Well, right now, we have 5,956 people, so a little less than 6,000 people that, not people, but residential units, households, if you will. And then there's about 1,058 households that currently opt into the optional recycling program. So this first column here is what our residents pay. This next column is actually what the city of Lebanon pays for those services. So you can see the city of Lebanon is somewhat subsidizing, is maybe the proper word. So residents see $7.61 on their bill. The city of Lebanon pays $10.50. So the total is $10.50. Residents pay $7.61, leaving a deficit right now of $2.89 a month per residential unit that the city picks up. On recycling, that number is about 63 cents. So the city pays $2.63. Residents see a bill for $2. The city pays $2.63 for that service, and the city is currently subsidizing at a rate of 63 cents per residential unit. So monthly total, the citizens are effectively being undercharged by about $3.52. The city is picking up that much of a gap. So that's where we currently sit. Any corrections there?
Sorry, no, I just wanted to say that's only been like this since last spring.
Correct.
I mean, always before this, we were ahead of the game, but we had a change. So until we got to here today, until we got the bid, so it hasn't always been like that.
No, you're right. But one of the many reasons why we're looking at rebidding our trash, waste, recycling services is so that we can update our ordinances related to these fees and basically be a pass-through, a conduit to the residents for this service. With no upcharges or anything, just passing on the direct costs to the city, those to the residents. So again, a lot of totals go into this. Just looking at the first year. So we asked the contractors to bid this in a bunch of different ways. And one was, bidding monthly trash, bidding monthly recycling, bidding combined trash and recycling. And then there's also the city facilities that are not included in the costs that the residents pay. Those are separate fees that are paid by city budgets for operations of our various buildings and facilities. So, looking at just what year one would look like for people, the lowest bid, if we were to go to combine trash and recycling, would go to $15.64. That's in year one. Mind you, we're bidding a 5-year contract. If we were to look at basically staying as is, we are looking at that the monthly trash cost would go up to $12.30. Recycling would be $4.60, totaling $16.90. So that's a question I think the board has to ask itself, is increasing from what we pay, what citizens pay today, to what is before you on these bid considerations. So the lowest bid to go to combined trash and mandatory recycling, and I misspelled recycling, my apologies, is $15.64 provided by Republic Services. If we were to stay under a regime that is similar to what we have today, which is required trash service, optional recycling,
The low bid was Ray's trash service. Again, I'm way oversimplifying, just to give you some context. These are all the numbers that were required to be bid by each person. I'm deliberately not going to zoom in and show you that because it's just a lot of minutia that you really don't want to see. When we get into those, let's go back in here to side-by-side comparisons. So this spreadsheet here, and you have printouts of all these. Again, this is looking at side-by-side, Ray's Republic and Waste Management. There is a correction that Waste Management submitted on their bid. I'm not sure if that should be permissible, but there's obviously a math error in their calculations. But regardless, even the corrected Waste Management bid is higher than the bids received by Ray's and Republic. So really, we're looking at Ray's and Republic in making this decision. So this first number is for 5-year trash-only service. So the low bid was provided by Republic at just under $6 million. I'm sorry, this is combined trash and recycling service, sorry. Combined trash and recycling services, the low bid was provided by Republic Services at just under 6, and then Ray's was second at just over 6. This is the 5-year total contract that we would be signing. So the per resident 5-year total, again, I don't know if that's makes a whole lot of sense or a whole lot of concern to anyone. That's what residents would pay over a 5-year period. And then the next line I have here is what the monthly average would be. Again, there are escalators built into these bid packages that raise the cost for trash and recycling every year of the 5-year contract. So what I've done here is, rather than show you year by year and talk through every single one of them, I'm just saying the 5-year average. Notice those are different than the numbers I showed you on the first slide, because those numbers were just year 1. So this is the 5-year average. Again, if we were doing all trash and recycling, Republic Services would be the low, and the cost to residents would be roughly $16.77 on average for the 5-year period. Ray's is a little higher at $17.23. If we stay with the current regime we have, which is trash and optional recycling, then you can see that the low bids are highlighted here, and we jump back to Ray's with a number of roughly $4.5 million, and Republic is at $5 million, and you can see there the misquoting that Waste Management submitted and their correction, but again, they're still the third highest bid, or the highest bid we received. So to go back to here, again, 5-year total, this is to do it the way we do it today, trash and optional recycling, the low bid is from Ray's at $4.5 million. And then again, just on the previous slide, probably this is the most the most important number is that monthly average over a 5-year period to the residents is $12.72 is the low provided by Ray's. Republic is second at $14.09. I should probably start off with this. This is also assuming that all trash and recycling cans are provided by the contractor. Right now, trash and recycling cans are not provided. You're able to just put your trash out in bags or or your own cans, and they're emptied. All these contracts that we're discussing, all these numbers, all these bids, are assuming the contractor is providing a trash and or recycling can to the residential unit. They're not required to buy their own. So when we say a cost might go from $7.61 up to an average cost over 5 years of $12.72, those residents are no longer having to buy a trash can. The trash can is provided. Other service that we've added into, Dave mentioned earlier, we're doing Heavy Trash Day at the street department this weekend, and we do another one in the fall. We will no longer be doing that at the street department. We will be doing heavy trash pickup at the curb. which is really the industry standard when we talk to other communities in the area. This is how most of them do it. So what that means is the first pickup of the month, you'll be allowed to set out one, the contract definition is a bulky waste item at the street. What is bulky waste? That could be a couch. That could be a refrigerator. That could be another large appliance, except for e-waste, computers and televisions, but it could be one of those other large home appliances. It could be a mattress. It could be things like that. One item, but you get that once a month, and that's included in the 1272 5-year average that I'm discussing. So, although we're talking about increasing cost to the residents, I think we're also increasing service because they're no longer having to provide their own trash cans. They are no longer having to haul stuff to the street department. That will be done at the curb, and the heavy trash will be done on a monthly basis. So I think that's a good service that we offer, and pretty much is what other communities in our area are also offering.
So the resident will not have to pay for the containers?
Resident will not have to pay for the containers. It's in the cost that I'm quoting to you.
Okay.
Now, if the resident wants to add an extra container, if the resident wants to buy overage bags, give you an example. So say Christmas morning, you've got 4 kids in your house and you know you're going to have a lot of trash to put out that week after Christmas.
Yeah.
I can call up the trash provider and say I want an overage bag, and I can purchase that overage bag, and I can purchase those overage bags anytime during the year, and the costs are in here, and then I can set that bag out next to my container and they'll also pick that up. What would be stopping is you won't be able to just set out full trash bags at the curb. Everything will have to be in a container, because we're really setting up for motorized pickup of these of the containers, so that we can decrease labor costs and provide better service.
So it's different than what the service is today?
Different than the services today. So again, if we were going to choose full trash and mandatory recycling over the next 5 years, the cost to residents is $16.77 on average. Again, trash, recycling cans included, heavy trash pickup, all that's still included. That contract is going to have a total of just under $6 million, and Republic is the lowest. Sticking to what we have today, the cost goes to $12.72, and the total contract is just over $4.5 million, and the low bid is raised. So what do people pay if they want optional recycling? Well, if we were to go with this trash only and optional recycling, the low bid is raised at $4.92. That's the average monthly cost. So going from $2 or $2.39 for the city, raising that to $4.92. Again, recycling can is provided. There's really no other special services associated with recycling. $4.92.
Kevin, how does a person get on optional recycling?
So anything optional, additional cans or optional recycling or overage bags, or you can call for an additional heavy pickup, any of those things are contracted between the residential unit directly with the provider. It does not go through the city billing, which is handled through the utilities office.
So the residents will not call the utilities?
No.
Well, we need to make that clear.
That will be an education process.
Absolutely.
But currently, I know in my household, we pay for can rentals. And we have a yearly rental contract with Raves to provide those cans. So people can still do that, so that's not going to be unfamiliar to them.
Okay, so they would have to set that up with
They would
Ray,
set that up if they want.
or
any of those
whoever
extra
it might be,
services.
okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But that's no different than today.
Correct.
They still have,
That's no different than
they have,
today.
that doesn't change. If you want the optional recycling, you set up your contract today, you're going to do it tomorrow.
Right.
Right,
Right.
that stays the same, yeah.
Let's see, moving on. Okay, these are numbers, and I don't want to bore everyone here because really these just concern city department budgets, these concern the clerk treasurer's office. These are the 5-year totals for trash pickup at the various city facilities. And those city facilities are, as you might guess, police department,
both facilities at the police department, the fire departments, and the street department, and of course, City Hall. So these are the 5-year totals for trash only for city facilities. The next one is for recycling contracts for city facilities. And you can see all the lowest bids on these did come in from Ray's. And again, recycling, currently the only departments that recycle are the street department and City Hall. But, you know, I think if we're talking about adding a recycling can or a couple at fire departments, police departments, we're talking in this $930 range on your 5-year total to add recycling in there.
Kevin?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for putting all these numbers together, because I made no sense of what you sent first, and this has been very helpful to have this summary done. My question is, if we went to mandatory recycling, that means every household gets a bin.
Yes.
Is there a monitoring of the recycling? I mean, if we have mandatory recycling, how will it be enforced?
That's a good question. Obviously, in the bid documents and in the contracts that would ripen out of the bid documents, there are requirements as to what can be recycled. And those requirements also, per the contract, can change because the recycling industry is always changing and always evolving. Exactly how, if someone dumps trash into their recycling can, I'm assuming that's the provider that would reject the pickup, and per the contract, they're required to notice that owner that they're rejecting the pickup. This is the reason why, and then the owner needs to remedy that issue, but that would be on the hauler provider to monitor that people are only putting recyclables into there. I don't want to speak to their business, but I'm guessing that's incredibly hard to really monitor.
Right. Or someone who doesn't recycle is given a bin, but they choose not to put anything in it.
Right.
Then we're paying a lot more money for somebody not using the bin.
Right.
Unless there is an enforcement part
Yeah.
to this.
And in that, I think, there's no way to force someone to recycle, in my opinion. We can give them a bin, we can ask them to. There's no way we can really make them.
I
That's
agree.
not a code enforcement action we can begin taking. I'm not aware of any city that does those kind of actions, at least not anywhere out of the West Coast. So yeah, that's a difficult question.
And 49
remember, there's only roughly 1,000 people of our 6,000 households that choose the optional recycling today.
So 4,900 people choose not to do it when it only costs $2 a month.
Exactly.
Okay, that answers my questions. Thank you.
So 4,900 people today who don't want to recycle would end up with a container under a mandatory thing for what? The other thing, I have two other questions. One, trash containers are an issue. What we do today with just putting out your trash, you get a wind or something else, and when you go home, you'll find trash containers in all the streets and every place else. You're going to have 2 of them now that you're going to have in the streets. So just from the standpoint of what happens with Mother Nature and an empty trash container, the other thing is, where do people store these things? If you don't have room in your garage, you set them outside and they're an eyesore. So what do you do with them? Those are 2 practical questions. The other question I have is even more basic. Recycling has lost a lot of its economic edge. I hear stories, and I'd like to hear from these gentlemen, what percentage of the recycling that you pick up ends up not being recycled, but you actually take it and put it in the dump?
Why don't we finish through a couple more numbers, there's only a couple more, and then I'd like to give them a chance to speak, and maybe you could address
Okay,
questions directly.
that sounds good.
The only thing I want to add to Kevin's thing is probably the reason we only have 1,000 people that recycle is because we're actually paying for the recycling at the street department in our contract. So why would I go get a recycling bin that's offered for free at the street department?
Exactly.
So that might be something to think about too.
We do have people
We
that
got a ton of recycling.
just drop off their recycling
Yeah,
at the
they
street
do.
department for
But
free.
we would continue that.
So what we bid here, and you can see this in that $150,000 number there, that is the recycling cost to the city to maintain. You've got a general collection, you've got a paper only, you've got cardboard, you've got 4 dumpsters that get emptied at the street department and are open for public recycling. I would say if we were going to go to mandatory recycling, we could consider not providing that service at the street department. But if we're going to continue with optional, I think that's a good option for people who maybe don't want to pay the $2 or soon to become $4 something. They could haul their stuff to the street department, and we don't have a count because there's no way to really keep track of it. But we do have a lot of people that come, and obviously they're filling up these dumpsters for recycling to the tune of $150,000. Granted, that's a 5-year total, but a lot of people do take advantage of that program that we offer. And we, as we said, we bid that to stay there. Actually, we bid it to stay there regardless if we went to mandatory recycling. But if we went to mandatory recycling, that's probably a negotiated item we would have to talk about with the provider. I mentioned some unit price bids. Again, so a couple of things. So we asked for unit price bids for dumpster pickup. This could be for, some sort of city project that requires a cleanup. This could be for community cleanup days in a neighborhood that we may want to offer, where there is a contract price to deliver and pick up a 30-yard dumpster, a roll-off dumpster for us. So we require that. Raise was the lowest at $397 each. And then, let's see, we did overage bags. Again, overage bags have price escalators. That's why there's a 5-year average. But the low bid for overage bags was $2.20. Then there is the 5-year average for additional heavy trash pickup. So you say you've got more trash, more heavy items that can really be handled in that one pickup you get a month in your contract, you can call up the provider and say, I've got an additional heavy item, we can pick it up. Of course they will, they'll schedule that directly with and bill directly the residential unit. The low bid actually was waste management at $15 for a heavy pickup. And Ray's, since they seem to be low on most of the other items, was at $32 for an additional heavy pickup. So with that being said, that's all the numbers I have to share with you. So again, there's a lot to this, but I think you kind of got to go up to the top here and look at trash and recycling, paying attention to what it does to the residential units, or trash and optional recycling, and what that does. Keep in mind, no matter which decision you would make, cans are included. Heavy trash pickup once a month is included. We're still having the recycling program at the street department, and then obviously we're also bidding out all the city-owned facilities. So if you want to go with mandatory recycling, Republic is your low bid. If you want to stay as it is today, Ray's is your low bidder. And I'll answer any other questions you might have, or if you have questions for the bidding entities. Rob, I assume there's nothing improper about letting them address the board in a bidding process?
No, we don't.
I'm back to my question then, just on the basis of in today's current environment, how much of those people, 1,000 people that actually recycle today that you pick up and take back to your shop, do you end up actually recycling versus what do you take to the dump?
You asked why they're coming up here. You asked another question about cans blown all over the street.
Yeah.
I pay for the rental cans at our house. I will say my cans don't ever get blown across the street because these cans they provide are heavy. These are 95-gallon cans. I don't know what they weigh. I'm guessing 30, 40 pounds a piece. The wind doesn't pick them up.
There's
I can tell you my neighbor's cans are all over the block.
Yeah, okay, the cans that they would furnish for just your trash, today you do the recycling, those are heavy-duty mechanized pickup. Are they the same size kind of facility?
The contract requires 96 or 95-gallon containers with wheels and handles, and They can only vary in capacity by, I want to say, 5 gallons. So we're talking about a 90 to 100 gallon can that everyone gets. By default, these are not light cans that are going to get blown across the street. So with that, I will turn it over to Calvin to talk about recycling.
Thank you, members of the board. My name's Calvin Davidson, Careers Trash Service. It's been a few years since, well, it's been a couple of months, I guess, a couple of weeks since I've been in the meeting room, but I've been up here a lot over the last 30 years. It's a pleasure to see some of you again, and Mr. Campbell that I ran into, is he still around back here in the back? It was good to see him again. So, thanks. To your first direct question, I love answering. Reds doesn't own landfill. We're not a landfill business. Who better to manage your trash and recycling than a company that doesn't own landfills? What my offer. That doesn't mean everybody that owns a landfill is bad, because we take your trash to a landfill. But because we don't own a landfill, we pay particular interest and attention to what gets recycled, how it gets recycled, and sometimes one of the reasons we're criticized for being pretty strict about what we do and do not accept in our program. We want the materials we want, we don't want the other materials. And if we catch you cheating, we put a little handy-dandy tag on your card, or I'll call in and give the address quietly sometimes to somebody that might do something about it, if you will. So we appreciate that kind of working relationship. But since we don't own a landfill, to answer your question, the materials that we collect out of Lebanon, Zionsville, the community surrounding, as well as Plainfield and Franklin and many other communities, over 90% of the material we receive goes back into markets for plastic, glass, paper, aluminum, all those kinds of folks that want that material back, which, while I'm at it, is another common misnomer. Lately, I've been challenged with, hey, does really all of that stuff, one of your residents just recently contacted me about, does all that plastic really get recycled? I don't know why. During COVID, some of my competitors were throwing some of their plastics in the landfill because some of the milk jugs that we were handling were worth more in the last 2 years than they've been worth the entire 30 years that I've been in this business. But I think it was easier, to be candid. And so they could bring all their milk jugs to our place. I'd take them all day long. It was a good business to be in when the markets, when COVID was a good excuse, I guess. Space, you mentioned space. The one nice thing about the optional, the choices in our community is what drives our community. That's what drives a lot of what we do, is that we have choices. And when people say, I don't have the space, take the trash bin and take your recycling over to David and Lana at Street Department, you still have a solution. You can offer that to the residents. I think the more that you give them the option, just like the additional bags, one cart may not fit every family, but if you have the additional bags when you need them, then you've provided the residents with a solution they need to take care of their home.
Just a kind of an amendment to my question. Under an optional program, today, individuals put out whatever. They go to Menards, someplace, pick up a trash can, or just plastic bag it and set it out on the curb. Under this optional proposal, are all residents, would they get a trash container from Ray's, or are we still going to continue kind of like we are today?
The way the bid specifications are written, everyone would get a uniform trash container. It would look like the ones that you see for the recycling today, the larger green cart with the yellow lid.
Right.
Ours typically have a black lid for trash, yellow lid for recycling. That could be whatever you want it to be, within reason range, I guess. But yes, everyone would get the large cart for trash, and then recycling would be only if you want it. And that way you get the people that are serious about it, the people
Sure.
who are committed to recycling, and you save the money out of the city budget by not paying for the services not used.
Thank you. What all do you take from recycling?
All right, set that there. You commonly hear 1 through 7 plastics, glass, tin, cans, aluminum, and paper, cardboard, and things like that. We used to say newspaper. There's really not a lot of newspaper anymore. But that junk mail, all the paper stuff, that if it's terrible, like rippable, outside of restroom waste, paper towels, we don't want that kind of stuff. So paper that you would encounter in your life in the home, especially the cardboard boxes, thanks to Amazon, we could all start our own cardboard box factory. The soup cans, tin cans, things like that. The aluminum beverage containers.
You don't have to separate it, just throw it all in one container
All goes in
and
that
go.
large cart, and we prefer that you don't bag it. We want the material to be loose so that the system that processes and sorts the material sees each individual item. Believe it or not, that's how it's processed. Scanning equipment, magnets, eddy currents, near-infrared opticals that sort them. Used to in the old days, somebody stood there on the belt and went blind picking beer cans, you know, whatever. We don't do it that way anymore, and they don't either. But there's technology now with volume that sorts it that way, and it's much more efficient. And basically, the labor is the quality control person that's there watching for whatever the mechanical device misses. And I would invite all of you to come see our facility. Some of your county folks, I think, commissioners maybe, and others have signed up for a tour coming up in early May. So if you'd like to come see it in operation, you're welcome to do that.
Okay.
Basically, anything you can think of, food and beverage container. Without going down the list and identifying every, but milk jugs. One item we do like to boast about a little bit, we worked with the American Carton Council, which is the old gable top milk jugs we all saw years ago as kids. There's juice and things like that, and the gable top. The flat box is also acceptable, but that kind of paperish, it's paper poly-coated container, those are acceptable. I don't know what the difference is between the gable top and the flat top. They sell the flat tops over in the health food section of the grocery store, and I don't go over there a lot.
Kevin, due to the time constraint here, what do you want to accomplish here?
So, in a perfect world, you would issue a notice of award
Okay?
this evening, and then we would basically, the contractor that is given the award would be, we would negotiate and execute contracts, and then come back and issue them a notice to proceed. The schedule, I'm sorry, we wouldn't come back to you for a notice to proceed. You would be issued a notice of award that would then tee up myself and the mayor's office to execute contracts and issue a notice to proceed once all those things were properly addressed. There's post-bid requirements, insurance, things of that nature that we have to address. Once those things are all addressed, notice to proceed would start. We would anticipate new service starting in July, and the contract basically would start a July 1 date every year, so 5 years starting in July.
Okay, so what you want out of us tonight is to make a
decision, yeah.
Recommendation on notice to award, or a decision on a notice to award. Because of the nuance that's given here, I'm not necessarily making a recommendation. I'm telling you all three bids are responsible, or I'm telling you Republic and Ray's are responsible and responsive. I'm telling you, if you want mandatory recycling, Republic Services is your low bid. And if you want trash only with optional recycling, Ray's is your low bid. And I'll leave that to you to make the decision.
We need to
Kevin,
hear
does-
from Republic.
Yes,
Yeah, we got another one like to
Yeah.
make a comment.
Sorry.
I just want to come up and speak.
Yeah.
Sure.
For speaking on behalf of the industry.
Take it on the tough question, right?
Yeah, it's always a tough one to pass on with Calvin. But on Republic Services standpoint, we're very much in like when you look at our industry and the abilities that we recycle. We're at about 89% of the material that we accept in the recycling stream that does get processed and does recycle. Our facility that we're located at is right closest to you at 96th Street and Michigan Road. We're so committed to the sustainability efforts in the recycling industry, and we invested almost $7.9 million in just 2018 alone to upgrade and upbuild that facility to do these programs and do these residential sort programs that are in front of you today. When I ask you just to make that decision, to make that comparison, you also kind of want to compare us as communities that are like, that you want to compete and be like. You look at the Zionsvilles, right? You look at the Westvilles, you look at the Carmels, you look at the Noblesvilles. All those have those universal curbside, all-in recycling programs. And I think that is key and that's critical because you want to maximize the recycling efforts and the recycling material that can be collected at the curb. You want to help the environment, to help the earth, to help sustainability. The public wants it, the communities want it. Kids these days, as they're growing up, sustainability is important to them in preserving the earth. And having the universal curbside recycling programs that has that all-encompass programs also allows you to help sustain the street department in cutting those costs out and having more people. If you make it easy and simple, and and you make it simple and the ability to recycle at the curb, you're going to find more products and more good material that's going to come out. Because if you look at what you collect and what you bring home, whether it be a cardboard box, whether it be a container, a jug, aluminum can, steel can, glass can, paper, over 65% of what you collect at your home can go in that recycling bin. We'll try to bring it really simple and simple with you. Actually, we've embedded a hate stamp on our lids, on our recycling lids, that give you that simple message. That's that reaffirming message of this is what's good in the recycling bin. We ask to keep it loose, keep it dry. And so that's what we want to bring to Zionsville to help your communities and grow you guys in this sustainable future.
Do you know, is Zionsville 100% recycling, or?
Everybody, whether they participate, whether they set out, but everybody has that ability to.
Okay.
So usually, rule of thumb is it's about when we run our recycling routes, it's about a 70 to 75% set out on an every other week basis like that we find. So that's usually kind of a good rule of thumb average. And about the carts, I always say is a good thing on a cart if you don't have the carts in your garage. If the footprint of a 96-gallon cart sits, if you take 3 30-gallon trash cans and you put it down on the ground and you put that lid right on top, that's the footprint that takes up in that cart on the garage. So it really is designed to be as effective and efficient as possible. And then also on the other piece about it, the cleanliness. The cleanliness when you have a rainy day and a windy day of having those carts at the street, and that whether having the old way of doing it in the windy days and the cart blowing up everywhere, you'll find that this aesthetics and the uniformity will enhance your curbs and streets and gutters.
I overextended my time here, but I have one other comment. It's not really a question, I guess, but it's a comment. I know today around Lebanon you will find, whether it's at a church or at the school or in the shopping centers, there are recycling bins. Most of it's for paper products. Those locations, if it's a church or an organization that has one of those, they kind of depend on that recycling for some income. As minor as it may be, it is a fundraising product. So if we went to a mandatory recycling, I would say those organizations probably aren't going to have very much business.
Depends on what the funds that they receive in these days. There's the cost to collect at those and process those. I couldn't tell you what.
You don't process any of those in Lebanon, those type of containers around town, and pay those organizations a fee?
Not on the small front loads.
Yeah.
Most of those are county people. Most of your county people are going to use those. That's why our dumpsters get so full, because businesses, county, everybody uses our recycling. And the only problem we have with our recycling there is we can't monitor it. So a lot of times you go out there and there's stuff that's not recyclable, so we have to jump in the dumpsters, take it out, and then it costs.
You don't have someone designated to monitor
We don't
recycling?
have the manpower, but most people use it respectively, but you got a few that, then it goes into our trash, and that costs the city again to empty our dumpsters. So it's, either way you're paying for it, I think you just gotta figure out which way you wanna do it.
Okay. I got another question. What about, to either one of you, what about apartment buildings where you may have 10 units or whatever? Are we going to have?
This is residential service
This is-
only, no
yeah.
commercial services. The only apartments would be small residential, multifamily residential buildings, no more than 3 units. So if you have a house with 3 apartments in it, those can be individual residential units that receive the service. But no commercial businesses are included in this. They all have to have their own contract for waste. And
So if you got an apartment building, each unit they're paying a,
well, most apartment buildings are doing it on a bulk system where they have dumpsters on site that the residents take.
yeah, but you got some of those that do not.
Yeah, there might be, I'm not for sure, but if they're more than 4 units or more, then they're required to contract individually for commercial service.
Okay.
Well, I guess at this point, I'd ask a board for a motion on which way you want to go. Raise or Republican?
Well, I personally am kind of concerned about forcing recycling on everybody. I think we need more education
Okay.
about recycling. We've had a lot of recycling and so forth, but I think in the future, I think it's probably somewhere we ought to go to, but I think it's something that we need to educate the people more on recycling, or at least encourage people to recycle more, become part of it, but
So you're saying
I
you
think,
would stay with Raise?
I think I would rather stay with trash and optional recycling, and I will make that motion.
And I will second.
We have a motion from, first from Dick and a second from Becky.
To stay with, to accept Ray's
Accept.
proposal for trash and optional recycling.
Right.
Could you make that contingent on legal review and authorize the mayor to execute any contracts?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Then I would, we have a first, we have a second, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'd like to make one more comment before all you guys get out of here. Thank you so much for participating, okay? I saw all the numbers that Kevin made you go through. Thank you so much for doing that, and so forth. Kevin, thanks for your job in putting all that together. That's a lot of work for you guys to do, and we appreciate the information, and 5 years when it's there, please come back, So, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on down to the, Kevin, you're still up on authorization for Elmwood Bridge replacement?
And I might need security to get me out of the room too.
Do what?
I might need security to get me out of the room. So sorry to keep us so long. That was a lot of information to digest. Yes, I'm asking for your authorization to publish bidding documents for the replacement of the Elmwood Bridge.
Okay, then I'd ask for any comment from the board on this. Then I'd ask for a motion to have a bid authorization for Elmwood bridge replacement.
I'd so move to authorize the bid authorization for the replacement of the Elmwood Bridge.
All right, we have a first from Alan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Becky. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorization, bid authorization has been approved. That concludes all the old business. Now we move on to the new business, which is street closure request for a public library. Jesse Fleming.
Hello, I'm Jessie Fleming from the Lebanon Public Library. I'm speaking on behalf of the library today for our Ken Worthy Summer Reading Kickoff Party. This is the first one that we have had since COVID, and we are very excited to start it again. Our theme this year is Oceans of Possibilities, and we have lots of fun activities planned. We have inflatables, we have princess meet and greets, we've got a magic show, we've got a petting zoo, we'll have door prizes and food. We are expecting between 600 and 800 people for this event, so lots of foot traffic. The date for it is Monday, June 6th, and the time for it will be from 1 to 4 p.m., and we are requesting the street in front of the library, Washington Street, to be closed from Meridian to East Street from noon to 5, so that we have enough time to set up and clean up after the event. And if it's okay, we would also request street barricades to be dropped off the night before.
Okay.
What between 9 and, what's that, 9 and 4?
Not 9 and 4, 1 and 4 is.
1 and 4.
Yes.
Noon
Did I
to
say
5.
9? Sorry.
Yeah, noon to 5.
Yeah, noon to
Yes,
5,
noon to
right?
5 for the street
Okay.
closure entirely.
At this time, I'd entertain a motion for street closure on June the 6th for the public library for their operation between 1 and 4, and have the street closed between Washington and Meridian to East Street from noon to 5.
I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented.
I have a first from Alan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Becky. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Street closure request is approved.
Thank you very much.
Then we'll go to the next street closure, which is Heart of Lebanon. Missy Curley.
Hi, Missy Krulik with the Heart of Lebanon. I'm just going to do one that's closest to the date of your next board meeting, so I'll do all the rest then for time's sake, okay? I have the Summer Nights is starting up again in May. We have the Car Cruisin', which will be May 13th. It's the second Friday from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. There we go. Goodness. So it'll be the same this year. We'll have Meridian Street from Washington to Main closed off underneath the lights. And then we'll also have Meridian Street from Main to South Street closed off for the cars to park, keeping the intersection of Main open. And that'll just be from 6:30 to 8:30 during the event. The Heart of Lebanon will provide music at the plaza that night. And it's just a fun summer night event, so.
What date is that, Missy?
That is Friday, May 13th.
Is this the only summer night, or are you going to go through them all?
No, I'll come back.
Okay.
I'll come back and do the rest.
Okay.
But that's the one that's closest,
Close,
so I want to
okay.
make sure I got that one
Okay.
closed.
At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion as presented for the street closure for Summer Nights.
I'll make a motion, we approve the street closure for the Heart of Lebanon for Summer Nights, May 13th, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. on Meridian Street from Washington to Main and Main to South Street.
I have a first from Dick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alan. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Street closure for Heart of Lebanon is approved. Then we'll go to the next street closure, which is Cruz Brews. Patrick?
Hello, I will also just come back to the next one because I have quite a few. So my only one I'm going to ask for tonight is May 14th. We're going to do a fouling tournament. So we want to close down East Washington Street from Meridian to East from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m.
From what now?
On May 14th,
Okay,
East Washington Street to the side of us, front of the library. From Meridian to East Street, shut it down from 1 p.m. to 11 p.m.
What's the activity?
Fouling? Fouling. It's it's like bowling and cornhole type of thing.
bowling, okay. All right, then, any questions? I would entertain a motion to approve the street closure for Cruz Brews on May the 14th from East Washington to Meridian between 1 p.m. and 11 p.m.
I would move to approve the closure of the street as requested by Clues Brews on May the 14th.
I have a first from Becky. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Dick. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. the street closure for Cruz Brews is approved.
Thank you.
Then we'll go to the next item up is authorization request LPD new hire of evidence tech, Chief Morgan.
We missed one.
Good evening again, board. I'll try and make this quick. I know Kevin's in a hurry to get out of here.
That's all.
So I'm seeking approval from the board to hire another evidence tech. We currently have one at this time, and she is on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. So when she goes on vacation or is off for any reason at all, we have to ask Whitestown to come and cover. Some of the responsibilities that she has, she'll respond to a scene, she has to process the scene, she'll have to log every piece of evidence, file it, transport any evidence that needs to go to the lab in Indianapolis. Then after court, or when the case is done, she has to purge that evidence. She has to maintain 3 property rooms, inventory all of these items once a year. So that's what she did up until we got body cams, and that was just one person. So now we have the body cams, and we're getting about 16 requests a week. And out of those 16 requests, that may be 15 to 20 different videos, because every officer has 3 cameras on him at any given time. He has his body cam, he has his dash cam, he has an in-car cam too. So when they get a request, all of those videos have to be found, downloaded, saved, and then sent to the prosecutor's office. And we're finding that we're getting way far behind. She's not able to maintain the inventory in the property room. So we would have asked for an additional at the last budget, but we didn't know the body cams were going to take up this much time. We didn't know we'd be getting this many requests. So if you guys give me the approval to hire another one, I will go to the council and ask them for the funds for it at the next meeting.
And the evidence techs are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, is that correct?
Because we have one.
Right.
Yep, so.
So this will help.
Yes, it would help 100%. You know, that'd give us 2. So I guess, one other thing too is, I mean, we are the busiest department. For your guys' information, the county has 3 evidence techs, Whitestown has 2, Zionsville has 3, we have 1. Now, the county to date has 900 case reports, Whitestown has 753, Zionsville has 950, we have 1,720. That's one person. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So, asking your permission to then go to the council, if you guys give me permission to hire one.
Okay. Yeah, any comments from the board?
I'll make a motion, we authorize the request subject to funding through the council.
Okay, we have a first from Dick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Becky. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorization request for LPD new hire of evidence tech is approved.
Thank you.
Then we'll go on to the next item which is Ben for HWC Engineering.
Good evening, board. Seems like it's been a couple hours since I was up here last, but this real quick is a professional services agreement with HWC Engineering to update the Unified Development Ordinance. This is a project that we've been looking for to get started for some time now, and something the UDO is ready for a pretty significant update. So this contract will allow us to work through the process over the next about 9 months to get that done. We did get funding from the council, additional appropriation from council. Money is already available, so this will just be a need your approval tonight to enter into a contract with HWC Engineering for that UDO update. And this would still be subject to legal review and allowing the mayor to sign.
Okay. Any comments from the board? At this time, I'd make a motion to approve the authorization for consulting services for HWC Engineering as presented by Ben Bronstrager.
I'll make that motion to approve the authorization for the consulting agreement with HWC Engineering, subject to legal review and mayor's signature.
Have a first by Dick, and have a second.
Second.
Second by Alan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorization for consulting services is approved.
Thank you much.
Good, now we got Kevin back up for a performance bond release and maintenance bond acceptance.
Much quicker. The developer for Riley Ridge has completed their performance bond requirements for monumentation and erosion control, and we're now asking for the release of those performance bonds in exchange for maintenance, sureties, maintenance bonds. We would just ask that your motion be subject to our review and approval of the documents and inspection of the premises prior to that exchange of bond documents.
Any question from the board?
Do they need to be reviewed by legal or anything?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
Just the mayor's?
There's not even any signatures on these, it's just.
Just release.
It'll just be an administrative process from this point
All
forward.
right. This time I'd entertain a motion to approve the performance bond release and maintenance bond acceptance.
I'll make a motion, we approve the performance bond release and the maintenance bond acceptance agreements for Riley Ridge subdivision.
I have a first from Dick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Becky. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Authorization for consulting services, or bond acceptance is approved. All right, we go to the next items is claims. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the claims? If so, I'd entertain a motion to approve the claims.
I make a motion that we approve the claims.
I have a first from Alan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Becky. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Claims are approved. Are there any other comments from the board at this time? If so, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I have a motion from Dick on first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Alan. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned. Next meeting will be May the 9th at 5:30, and the next session will be the city council. Thank you.